Hey, and welcome to the Reset Podcast. Everything you need to know that your therapist probably never told you. Researched by experts, real life experiences. This is Reset. Hey, welcome back to the Reset Podcast. We are so glad you are here today.
As you know, in graduate school, I was actually blessed to have one of my professors being Dr. Amen, which people may not know Dr. Amen, but look him up. He's great. A lot of insightful things on his Instagram, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. He
just worked with the Kardashians.
I know. What does that even mean? I don't even know.
I have no idea.
And I refer clients to him at times, which is kind of like, is he only seeing Kardashians now? I don't know. He does the brain scans, and so he kind of can recognize things about, where your brain has hot spots and, kind of the halo aspect when it comes to ADHD, on. So it's really interesting being his student in grad school because you learn a lot about the brain, and especially come from a psychiatrist that he is. He doesn't really recommend pills first. He recommends skills. And so we learn a lot about different skills, a lot of CBT kind of behavioral techniques. And I think one of the top ones that we learned from him, I still use with a lot of my clients, is the one that's called ants versus anteaters. And I know you're not a big fan of ants.
No, I have a slight phobia to them.
I mean, you really just dream of ants coming around. Like, it doesn't matter, indoors, outdoors.
Yep.
You just won't have, no matter, black, red, fire ants.
Jumping ones.
Army flying ones.
Huge ones. Nope.
Not a big fan of all. But this is a different type of ant. The ant that he talks about is called ANTS, automatic negative thoughts. And we all have ants. Some of our ants come situationally, like let's say we have a test or an oral presentation. And so we just constantly think of just automatic negative thoughts come in our head, just anxious thoughts. Boom, boom, boom. Some of us, we just wake up, we automatically have ants. And so we just, I know you're thinking, I saw your face. Are you trying to tell me that ants are in my bed? No, not those ants. I know you were. I saw it. But some of us just have these ants are just automatically, they just have an anxious personality type. There's anxious thinking. We think of deficits, not of abundance. And so all these ants are coming in. And just like when it comes to, I guess, a picnic, if there's one ant attacking our food, there's going to be a whole army of them.
This is why I don't like ants. There's never just one.
And that is true when it comes to automatic negative thoughts.
There you go.
And so the rumination occurs, and sometimes we have a hard time stopping them. Usually worse in the morning and night, which my clients usually say, which I think is very normal when it comes to depression, anxiety in general, usually worse at morning time and nighttime, which is very common for people who have anxiety and depression, where they wake up with this really bad and going to bed is really bad as well. And so when we have these ants, what can we do with them? And this is a great exercise that he talked to us about in college, is the aspect in which you do something called ants versus anteaters. So I know probably your favorite animal is anteaters. If you don't like ants, I know you like your anteaters. They're pretty cute.
They're cute.
They're pretty cute.
Got weird tongues.
Yeah. And so what we do is you take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. So you have two columns. You have a left side and a right side. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so the left side, you're going to write down the word ants, automatic negative thoughts. And so let's just write down all of our negative thoughts. So let's give an example so we can work with. What is something that is very anxious for people at times, do you think? Test taking, maybe it's social situations. Let's go to social situations because a lot of people have social anxiety. So let's say all of our ants is this. I'm going to embarrass myself when I get to the party. I'm not going to know anyone. I'm going to trip and fall. Everyone's going to see me. I'm going to feel like a loner.
Yeah, what if I don't know
I'm
anybody?
going to faint. I'm going to throw up.
What foods can I eat that won't look embarrassing in front of people?
Is that what you think?
Yeah.
What is the worst food to eat at parties?
Spaghetti.
Oh, yeah.
Sandwich.
I think the same category for party foods, the same category for first date foods.
First date, that's
yes, we don't want to have spaghetti,
or even
sauce.
Sandwiches are really difficult to eat.
Because you chew, it could be difficult.
It's awkward.
It's
and then you
awkward.
get on your face.
Yeah. So what's the best one then?
I would say like some kind of entree. You're cutting it and then you're eating it piece by piece.
I was thinking like finger foods, like
that.
French fries.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Nachos.
I mean, I used to think like that. I have grown so much, but I used to have extreme anxiety eating in front of people.
I think the first food I had in front of you was a soft pretzel.
It was at the hockey game.
It was.
I couldn't even eat. I was so anxious.
I was thinking to myself, how is this person not eating a soft pretzel with cheese? Who doesn't eat that?
I was so nauseated because I was like, oh my God, he's so cute.
as he's eating a soft pretzel. But that's a good example of all these automatic negative thoughts around food, social anxiety, right?
Welcome to the part of the show where we talk about what we can learn from animals.
Yo, listen up. Did you know animals teach us about life? Like how to be a good husband or wife? Or maybe how to be a good parent or friend? Needless to say, lessons that will help us out in the end. So open up your heart and open up your mind to hear about which animal today that we will find.
Okay, so I think we're talking about animals today. So thank goodness the ant stuff is out of the way and in the main part of the podcast.
Well. Hold on. I'm not done with my ants yet.
Joe, you cannot double ant this
I'm
podcast.
I'm going to, because I think it's better for you to have one episode all about ants than to spread it out.
Is this like, what's that thing called? Like you submerge somebody in what they're afraid of or something?
A little systematic desensitization.
That one.
Or stimulus here. Okay, so let me just track with me. We're going to start with ants, but we're not going to end there. Okay. So as you know, we went fly fishing a few months ago. We talked about it already. Dude's trip, great time. While we were there was these things called honey ants. And these honey ants were all over the water. You can't see them. They're microscopic.
Oh, dear.
And all these trout would go up and gulp these.
A bunch of them?
A bunch of them. And so they're going after them. By the way, they're not filling. They don't fill them or fill them up, right? And so instead of going after these larger, obviously, prey, these bigger insects, they'll bypass that and go after these ants. So when it comes to our fly lure, which represents one of the larger insects, it wouldn't go after that. So it doesn't even make sense. They're wasting all this energy going after these ants that do not give them the calories.
Is this like special season? The ants come in so they don't.
The guide was saying it rarely happens. When it does, it's horrible.
Okay.
He used the S word. It sucks. And so it did, but we're still able to overcome it because we're great fishermen, of course.
Of course.
And so what's the point of that? Well, track with me. So they're wasting calories filling up on an insect, an ant, that doesn't fill them.
Right. Doesn't satisfy their hunger.
No. What it made me think of was the great Australian famine from, I think, 300 years ago. You know me, my history. I love my dates. Not at all. And what was happening there was the Australian government had all these people obviously hungry. It was a great famine. So they started making like these mud pies that kind of look like flatbread.
Like actually out of mud.
Basically, they have soil. And they would feed them to fill up their stomachs, to fill them up. The reality of it, was there any nutrients, nourishment in those mud pies?
No. Were there ants in there?
No, zero ants. Actually, ants probably would have been good for them. And so, no, there's none of them. So what's happening was these people were eating this fake food, right? Mud pies, basically. And they were full. They were filling up. The problem is they were still starving to death because they didn't have nourishment. And so they would die with full stomachs, not because they weren't hungry. They were not hungry anymore, but they were not getting the nourishment that's needed.
That's really sad.
And it made me think about the metaphor in so many ways about our own lives, that how many people are filling up with all the wrong things, that they don't feel purpose, they don't feel connection with others, they don't feel joy, because they're filling up their time, their mind, their hearts with things that make them feel maybe even slightly good.
Instant gratification, maybe?
Yeah, and maybe just they feel full, whatever that looks like in their life. But yes, not nourishing their soul, it's not nourishing their emotional wellness or even their sense of their personal psychology, whatever it may be.
Not long lasting.
Exactly. And so that could look in a variety of ways. I think for some people it could look like just binge watching things from YouTube to Netflix and sometimes even, I think about when I was watching that Netflix special on the Night Stalker. Remember that? Dude, I could not sleep for like 4 or 5 days. Mainly because I think I lived it. I still remember the Night Stalker in my town and living that. But my heart was like, yes, I love these serial killers, sociopathic behaviors. I was just consuming it and feeling great in terms of consumption. But the byproduct of it wasn't nourishing. And so I was lacking a lot of sleep, feeling tired, nightmares and that kind of stuff. But it might not be as practical as that, but it could be other stuff. We've seen it obviously with food. Sometimes, people fill themselves up with food and all the wrong food. And the byproduct is, they're full, they're not hungry, but there's also disease that comes along with it. And I think in so many ways, as we know, it's not so much what they're eating, but what's eating inside of them that's causing them to kind of go down that path. I think for other people, it could be aspect of like fame. I know you talked about this, is people wanting to crave and go after, opportunities and parts they want to play and stuff like that when it comes to the arts.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with chasing something for the wrong reason. When you're going after something for the fame or for the recognition, it's never going to fulfill you. And I think there's a lot of this. Everybody's going to relate to this, the social media part,
Yep.
You rarely walk away, I think, feeling filled up from being on social media for a long time. Yes, it's fun to see friends and their families and stuff like that, but most of the time it's depleting and it's a time sucker. Actually, all my social media apps are under a folder in my phone called Time Suckers.
I was wondering what that was when I looked at your phone. I'm like, Time Suckers? What the heck is that? I thought it was a game. I'm like, what game is this? This is great.
It was like all my anything from Marco Polo to Instagram to whatever. It's all underneath that little folder. But
it's interesting. That's probably why you haven't gotten back to me on Marco Polo for years, I feel like.
I'm the worst. Well, I go through these phases where I'm so on it and then I just have too many and I just get overwhelmed.
But I think it's a perfect example where social media, for example, for all ages can be, you could just spend hours there. You could spend even 30 minutes, 20 minutes and just consume your mind and feel good, feel connected, and even have laughter. But then you walk away from it and you get to face a three-dimensional world. And it's just, it could feel, for a lot of people, feel very isolated, feel very lonely, or just feeling not a lot of value or worth as a person when you come from that. And this is not teenagers only. We've seen this, I've seen this with 40-year-olds, I think this with 30-year-olds. I think it's a growing amount of adults, I would say, that they're trying to live this and feeling this fantasy life through social media, through being, having voyeurism and looking into other people's lives, and they're getting filled that way through the fantasy. But when the reality comes and have to face reality itself, there's no nourishment.
Right.
They're hungry. They're starving to death when it comes to social connection, relational connection, or just having just very fruitful conversations or whatever it may be. Because you think about it, so much of social media is just, and we talked about this before with our podcast, with that one episode about social media, where it's just one way. The interaction is just one way. The brain that sees it as a dual, connection, but it's really only one connection, and it's just you consuming, just kind of like with the Australians and the trout,
right?
Consuming a lot of, taking a lot of energy to consume these mud cakes. Is that what we call it?
Yeah, mud cakes.
Yeah, mud cakes.
You also feel so connected to these people, because I follow several people I don't actually know personally, but you feel like you know them because they're sharing their life. And I've even caught myself before telling stories and realizing, oh wait, that wasn't somebody in my life I know. That was something I saw on Instagram through whatever celebrity or whatever influencer I follow, right? I'm telling this story like I'm friends with this person, but they don't know who I am. And so there's, again, this weird fulfillment part too of a relationship or just interesting things. But I just think Joe and I always talk about being overly busy. We're in a state where we like being busy enough to where, our kids, we're doing fun things together and we're hanging out with community and family where it doesn't feel overwhelming. But the second we get too busy, we realize it's that same feeling of we're just filling our time, filling this, and we're burnt out. We're not filled. We're just putting things, and sometimes we're not even intentionally trying to do that. It just, exterior things happen. Kids are involved in stuff on top of wanting to be social, on top of whatever it is. And then it goes back to that loss of margin, which we've talked about a little bit before too.
Well, our friend put something great on Instagram of all things, but I love this.
Is this an actual friend?
Yeah, an actual friend.
Okay.
We actually know them, see them in person, touched them before. They're great.
Touched them before.
But here's the quote. I never heard this before. I made my mic out of it. But it said, I'm saying no to you not because I'm busy. I'm saying no to you because I don't want to be busy. So now a lot of people say, no, I can't do it because I'm busy. But the whole concept is, no, I'm not saying no because I'm not busy. I'm saying no because I don't want to be busy. And that totally blew my mind this week, because I know we came back from a very busy weekend. And now we're taping from a busy weekend. We're exhausted. We did a ton of fun stuff, a ton of, feeding our kids in all different ways we can. But sometimes you just need, which I guess we did have yesterday, the whole day of just sleeping as we're watching the movie.
We took epic naps yesterday.
I mean, we killed it. I have no idea.
Killed it with our
No
napkin.
idea what the kids did during that time, but somehow they survived.
They were playing with neighbors.
They were. But you know what I mean? Where at times, are we saying no because we're too busy or saying no because we don't want to be busy? I think it's a great,
I love that.
I don't know, great mantra of life or a great version of, I don't know what that is, but it's a
Yeah.
great statement right there
Yeah.
for sure. And I go back to is what you said there is so key about 5 minutes ago, the aspect of it's your approach around it. Meaning if you're going into, let's say, social media to get felt, heard, understood, and connected, it's probably not going to give you that. If you're going into, let's say, exercise and you're just obsessed with exercise to look good, but not to technically feel good, then I think that could be fruitless in many ways. And so recognizing it's not so much what me filling myself with as much as my approach or my ego wrapped around it in all the wrong ways. Mm-hmm. If so, they probably want to reevaluate either a mindset around it, our approach around it, the time involved in it, the amount of value we give it needs to be reevaluated when it comes to it.
I love it.
Okay, by the way, we're done with ants. No more ants for the
Gosh,
rest.
you
For the
scared
rest.
me. You looked at me.
No more
really-
ants for the rest of this calendar year.
You heard that, people? Okay, all the people who've known me for decades and decades know this about me, and you're probably been laughing alongside us as we talked about ants.
But there is that thing. Remember, like those ants? Are they the army ants that could climb on the water? They sacrifice each other to get to the other side. That is something we can actually talk
Okay,
about
ants
next
are actually
year.
really impressive. Next year because you said
I said this year we're good. Then I didn't tell you about the ants, the African ants. When I was in West Africa, these ants.
I have the power, right? I could just turn this off.
I know, but
right
these
now.
ants were half black, half red. So they bite and sting. That is something we're going to talk about next year as well.
When I was in Guam, they jumped. They were jumping ants. I think that cured a lot of my phobia.
Jumping ants.
They were horrible, and they were all over the bathroom floors when we went to the bathroom. And
What are they eating in there?
I don't know.
Oh, we're good. We're good.
Okay, peace out. See you later.
And now back to the show.
So, okay. So you do that. You write them all down, no matter how ridiculous they are. It could be from, who cares? It could be 2 to 20 to 200. Just write them all down. The right side, the right column, are the ant eaters. And so the ant eaters are your alternative or your balanced thoughts. So for every one ant, I want you to write out 2 ant eaters. And here's the key. I keep it simple. Make your ant eaters I am or I will statements. So for example, I'm not going to know anyone at the party. That's your ant. Your ant eaters could be this. I will know someone at the party. I am going to introduce myself and meet new people. Let's say another ant is
I'm scared of what to eat at the party.
I'm afraid that the food's going to be horrible to eat or it's going to be messy to eat. Your ant eaters will be this. I will close my mouth when I eat the food. I will find foods that are easy for me to eat and digest. Whatever. Funny part is probably some people are like, that's me. That's probably real out there.
Well, if I feel it, I feel like somebody else has to feel it.
And say let's do a third ant. So let's say a third ant is, my friends are not going to show up. I'm going to be alone. I will confirm that my friends will be there. I am going to make sure that I ask other people questions and engage with others. So you write down 2 ant eaters for every ant. So you just go down the whole list. After you do that, you're going to go ahead and read through your ant eaters in your head, that whole list of them, 10 times through. Just read 10 times through in your head, over and over again, 10 times. And then what you're going to do is after you read the ant eaters list 10 times, you're going to circle the one ant eater that gives you either the most peace, the most confidence for the situation, or just makes you feel like you're in control of it. Just that one. And that becomes your daily mantra. And so what you do then is throughout the day, when an ant comes up, I want you to think of a red stop sign. Stop means what? Stop sign means stop. Exactly.
Stop.
No trick questions in psychology. The red stop sign awakens the associations of stop, and you replace it with your ant eater. And so say your ant eater is, I will eat with my mouth closed.
That's such a weird. It's not that I don't think I'm going to eat with my mouth closed. It's
you think it's going to get all over the place.
yeah. I'm going to I'm a natural klutz, so I have a lot of those thoughts. I'm going to trip. I'm going to eat and something's going to fall out of my mouth. I'm going to have something in my teeth the whole night. Something's going to be on my face. Those are the thoughts, not that I need to eat with my mouth closed.
I don't know. I was thinking about it being too loud or eating loud. But maybe the fact is, I just think about this. This is what I thought about. Is a lot of first dates, I think people wear darker colors. You don't white or yellow stains. No? I know, we're going too far with this one. Let's say then the one anteater is, I will look at other people in their eye and ask them questions. So every time you get that ant evolving around this situation, you just think red stop sign, replace it with that anteater. You tell yourself over and over again that anteater until your anxiety or till the ants go away.
So you try to do this exercise way before something happens, is what you're saying.
So the suggestion is it's part of your daily journaling. So if we're all about doing morning time journaling, this is a great exercise for you to do every morning when you have an anxious thoughts occurring or a situation or environment or even a relationship that's creating anxiety for you or creating automatic negative thoughts, creating ants. The ants are coming in. This is a great time for you to get out the pen and paper and write all your ants, and the right side are all your anteaters, and do it every day. So every morning you have it, you circle that mantra, that anteater, that's it for that day. And let's say the next day comes and you still feel overwhelmed. You do ants versus anteaters again. But people say, what happens to the same ants? That's okay. What happens to the same anteaters I write down? That's okay as well. Why would I choose the same mantra? That's fine. Why would I choose a different mantra? That's fine as well. You're just going to put yourself through that. What does that do? A few things. Number one, you're writing it out. We talked about you write out, you act it out. So you're writing out that stuff down on paper, taking out the trash, detoxing. Number two, you're learning to either reframe or refocus your mindset or your mind on something that is more productive, more confident. I didn't say positive, more confident and more productive, right? And third thing, what you're doing is you're just re-changing the narrative by just writing out all those anteaters. You're creating a different narrative. It's kind of like for a lot of people, they have a bad cases of the what ifs, which we discussed before, where you just keep doing the what ifs in the worst case scenario. What happens if you do the what ifs for the best case scenario? And so this gives you that opportunity to work this out on paper, give you a game plan. So let's say you actually go to this party that we're talking about, and you go there and you still feel that hyping anxiety. You go back to what? Telling your anteater over and over again. If you need to, go use the restroom, get some cold water, do a little grounding technique as you wash your hands with cold water in your head. Keep telling yourself that mantra and go back out there. Ultimately, the greatest way to defeat ants is to face the ant itself. It's to actually go after the ant. I know maybe
is this a whole subliminal message podcast for me to get over my fear of ants?
I just feel like every time you look at me, you want a can of Raid right now so badly. And there is no Raid. There is only anteaters that we can do here. And I think everyone wants that Raid moment in their life where they could just throw that. Remember back in the day with bombs, the Raid bombs?
Oh, yeah, it's so bad.
There's no way they could get away with that these days.
No, they do. People still use that.
Do they really? Is it really approved?
Probably.
Maybe it is. But that is basically a really good exercise we're talking about for people who have racing, negative, anxious thoughts. So I guess every anxious thought is negative and just need a practical way to overcome it.
I love it. Try it next time and let us know how it goes.
Thanks so much for listening to the Reset Podcast. We're so glad that you're here with us. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you left us a rating, a review, or hit that subscribe button. And share it with a friend that needs to hear this. We're here to help you live a better life. Overcome mental barriers that are holding you back from your full potential. Find free resources, our blog, and information for one-on-one coaching at theresetgroup.com. We'd love to connect with you on social media, so be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok at The Reset Group. See you later.